Hello, my name is Brennan Lee Mulligan. I'm your humble dungeon master here with Dimension 20 Presents Fantasy High Extra Credit, our weekly talkback show where we talk about episodes of Fantasy High that we've just streamed for y'all on Twitch, jumping out from behind the paywall for you guys to watch and enjoy. I'm here today with my very special guests, Ally Beardsley and Zac Oyama!
Hey! Hi!
What's up?
Oh, shucks, gang. Well, we're having a time here. Let me tell you, we were just having a Nat 20 rolling contest. I think, Ally, you're ahead right now, right?
Nat 20.
You can't throw dice without having one of them jump off the table.
Oh.
It's wild. Someone on Tumblr called you out for throwing dice like you're ripping a Beyblade.
Yeah,
And whoever did that, you're a genius and you're correct. Guys.
Awesome.
Oh, no.
A couple little plugs. We're gonna hey, get ready for a little plug minute while we do some plugs here real quick. Number one, thanks for tuning out to Dropout Live. This is Dropout's Twitch channel. Thanks for checking it out. Why not give us a subscribe if you feel so inclined. We got Drawfee coming at you with streams Monday and Friday. You got your Wednesday Dimension 20 streams, which are going to be extra credit for the next couple weeks. And then on September 25th, the Wednesday night Dimension 20 stream will become an actual live play D&D game going back to Spire, back to Elmville, baby. We're hooking back up with the bad kids. Get ready to meet Kristen and Gorgug again. We're heading back to another year at the Eggford Adventuring Academy. Make sure to follow the D20 YouTube channel as well, Dimension 20 on YouTube. Make sure to hit that bell, like and subscribe. And then if you want to catch up not only with Fantasy High, but with Escape from the Bloodkeep, and currently airing the Unsleeping City, next full season, and meet not just Gorgug and Kristen, but also Ricky and Pete. You got to go sign up for Dropout, where you have the ultimate D20 experience. We got Drawfee live show on Friday. And make sure to come back, Wednesdays for more Dimension 20. We also have, very excitingly, merchandise!
Yeah.
Whoa!
What?
Look at that.
Harvest Camp. Not far from what my actual church camp shirt looked like.
Well, so that brings up something very interesting. These are so cool. You can find these on Dropout. They're cool merch. You can wear your characters on your body. You can make your body into art through shirts. So that's cool.
I didn't realize Gorgug was going to be this teary.
Yes, the artist has rendered Gorgug exceptionally teary here.
But not wrong.
Not wrong.
But
He was kind of a sad guy.
He's a very sad boy. Well, I want to talk about this actually because I feel like Kristen and Gorgug really get to the heart of the team. I think that whenever you're making characters for a D&D campaign, people take different parts of the prompt. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Kristen and Gorgug really came from the heart of the teen experience. And I wanted to know from whence these characters came, because they see what parts of these characters are autobiographical to your own teen experience, even as they are wielding divine magic and literally of fantastical species in Gorgug's case.
I feel like Gorgug, I wasn't probably as my experience at school was overall fine. I think I definitely felt similar to Gorgug in ways more on a more internal level, but outwardly more not like the kid sketching in the corner, not talking to anyone. I think I'm familiar with that vibe and type and had friends like that, but wasn't quite all the way that. Mm-hmm. I relate a lot to that age and just the different feelings and just kind of feeling you don't have control over yourself a little bit.
It's a insane time to watch people slowly get shunted into adulthood, right?
Shunted. It's perfect. Yeah.
It's a conveyor belt. Days stack one after the other, and you just eventually will turn 18 and be legally an adult. Yeah. And you will have done whatever personal growth you did, and that's it. You just turn 18 and there you go.
It's time. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it's time. You're an adult now, which is wild. It's and I think that feeling of impending doom is very present in Gorgug as a character. I'm just like, oh man, this is so much.
Just my body is so different than I thought it would be, or even I never even thought it would change.
Right, and I think too it's very special because obviously Gorgug is an adopted character, and there's a lot of comedy that was created by the idea of giving this high school archetype to the idea of a half-orc barbarian, which is an extremely classic D&D character. But the idea of, like, wait, you're going to make the half-orc barbarian, like, shy? Like, that doesn't... And then, but it does tie it together so well. But, like, when you were coming up with that idea for the character, did you know, like, this is going to be, like, insane and funny? Or was there something about that made, like, an interior logical sense to you?
I think it made, I think I knew, it made sense to me internally because I knew of archetypes that were in things that are like the shy kid that's actually like kind of like don't mess with me. And so I think there were examples, but yeah, it's maybe less popular than like straight up like this guy's the more like the Rog type. You know?
Rog.
Or Rog at the beginning versus Rog at the where he ends up. But like. Yeah, I think it made sense to me. Like I kind of locked into what was personally interesting and funny, and like what I could play with pretty early on.
That's rad as hell. And Ally, I feel like Kristen was definitely autobiographical, at least in parts. What was it like to? Because this was also, I think, your first time playing D&D. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was that like? And also, what was the learning curve of like? Because Zac and I had played D&D for years before we started playing Fantasy High. What was it like sitting down at the table and trying to get the hang of this, not only what we'll call a game, but also a method of storytelling while telling something that was kind of personal on a certain level?
Yeah, I mean, well, that made it a lot easier. It's always like way easier to like experiment and stuff when you know kind of like the source material so well. So
that's a great point.
That was great. It was, my first time playing D&D was episode 1 on camera. Like we played a half practice game up in like a office, if you remember that. It was like you, me, and like 3 producers maybe?
Yes.
Maybe one other I don't know. And it was just like, anyway, then we'll do this. We won't do that now, but you'll see on the day. And I was just like, oh, okay.
Have you ever played D&D not in the setting of Dimension 20?
Every game of D&D you've ever played has been recorded.
Yes, yes, it's true. No, but because like we spend so much time on the show that like to play D&D recreationally, it's like it's my best friends all on a show with like incredible sets. I've just been spoiled. I'm but I'm gonna go play a home game. Like
no, it's not. It's also very much as someone who plays a lot of home D&D. Like the games of Dimension 20 are like some of my favorite games I've ever played. Like it's not. It is hard. You do get spoiled.
Yeah.
I think of like look at these sets, like Rick Perry's incredible sets and the dome. And also the company, like you guys as players are the most fucking fun to play with. So
and we got Emily and Murph on it, and Siobhan and Lou. Yeah, it's a dream. I would play one of your games though. You're a DM now, right?
I have DM'd truly 1.5 times.
I want to be there for the second half of that second time.
Please,
yes.
Please. It is funny to like come in and like when we come in and there's a new battlefield and be like, we're fucking pros, dude.
Yeah.
We're
some like
pros at D&D.
Mechanical like thing, and it's like this is the NFL.
Yeah. We're sponsored.
We're freaking sponsored. Gatorade, get at us. We should do a Gatorade commercial in the middle of a D20.
Hi, Gatorade. If you're watching this right now, my name is Brennan Lee Mulligan. You can reach out to me at BrennanLM on Twitter. We would love to help you unleash the beasts inside in perhaps a demographic that you're not used to reaching into. You don't have a sort of penetration into that market. I love to drink your sour-colored water, and I would be happy to sell it on your behalf. Please get at me. Cool. I want to talk a little bit too about what we say about these characters, especially after the events of the last 2 episodes. We just did, I think, 113 and 114 before we started the stream today. That was, I'm trying to remember. So 113 is First Kisses, Last Words, where we have Zelda and Gorgug's first date. Yeah. It is also the episode where Kristen formally comes out.
Yeah, it's true.
She gets blasted.
She gets blasted,
and
drunk.
Got both of us for this episode.
Yeah, I know. Freaking perfect.
And we also have a lot of fans who watch the show who are big into like shipping and into the idea of like following and talking about romances in the show. And I feel like Zelda / Gorgug and Kristen / Tracker are like 2 of the romances, like the teen drama or the teen sort of rom-com-y kind of romances that we see bud in this. What was going through your head in 113 when this sort of started to flourish or come about?
Well, just thinking back to role playing with essentially you are Zelda.
Yes.
With you,
yes,
my girlfriend.
Yeah, 100%.
It was it's very funny to just remember. I mean, not even that long ago. Like that is to an exponential degree like what I am like.
Yeah.
Obviously playing it up.
Yeah.
Like the anxiety that like is there, like whenever I think back to my experiences like of dating or whatever, was just like that is more hidden clearly. I mean, hopefully, but like just be able to like wear it is just very fun and like and just to recognize that it's like a two-way street of like we are both playing these anxiety-ridden teens just trying and like just. The whatever effort you're putting into there, like that's what matters, even though it's just looks from the outside just horrible.
Yeah, you two were the perfect pair of like nervousness.
Yeah. Yes,
that pairing was just like watching a train wreck.
Yeah, I think Zelda like brought a rose and then ate it. And I think I also described her like
she did eat it.
She ate the rose because she's a part goat, and then she had the whole thing of like
describing her. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, what were you going to say? Describing the medals? Yeah, all the metals she was into. And I literally went and improvised as many different types of metal music, thrash metal, crash metal, slash metal, this whole long list. And then I went like, so that kind of music, what about you? And Zach just goes like, pretty much that.
There was a moment in the improviser kind of brain about like a quarter way through that list, and I think you probably did this, that I was like, I'm just gonna say same.
Yeah.
Like Brennan's gonna keep going.
I'm just gonna say same. Yeah, that's the nice thing about playing with improvisers and people that you've played with a lot before is that you develop those. We're recording season 5 right now, and it's crazy how good. Can I just brag? It's crazy how good our rapport has.
You can't brag.
Can't brag?
Yeah. No brand
bragging.
names, no cursing, and no bragging.
Well, I'm mostly bragging on you guys, which is to say that your guys' characters, change every season, and it's wild how fluid and dynamic the rapport at the table is. That the characters can completely shift, and everyone stays completely in sync with each other.
Totally.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I have the best seat in the house for D20 to like watch you guys. Truly, to watch you guys perform.
It is fun to improvise because when you just don't have anything to go off of, you do totally end up playing yourself. So it is a fun way to see like sometimes like when Siobhan answers something, I'm like, this is just Siobhan talking like normally. You know what I mean? Like if you get pushed for an answer, you're just like, guess I'll just say what I actually think.
There's a great thing, actually, Frank Garcia Hale, who's an improviser at UCB that we all know out here in Los Angeles, had this great metaphor he used for when you're improvising, you have to be drawing on yourself. But obviously there is such a thing as playing a character. And he always had this great thing he said about characters, which was characters are transparent. They're like stained glass. Where he was like, the light that shines out of a character always has the same origin, which is you, your real feelings, your real reactions. Part of why D&D is phenomenal to watch is you're watching real emotional reactions that are genuine. So of course, if the reactions of a D&D character are genuine, they are genuine from the genuineness of the real person experiencing them and playing it. But like pure light shining through a piece of stained glass, the nature of the character can color and transfigure the genuineness. So you manage to get this perfect blend of the character is changing something that is original and genuine in the player. So the player is being affected and reacting. But you go, okay, this is a darker piece of stained glass because this is a darker character. Maybe there's more rage or more sorrow in this, and the reactions are being filtered through that, but it's still fundamentally the same. And I feel like we've seen that. Like, the differences between Kristen and Pete or between Gorgug and Ricky are like enormous, even though I see you both in both of them.
Totally. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then episode 114, the arcade. What an insane fight.
That was wild.
Very, very cool.
What was your guys' experience? I mean, obviously this is the arcade. We got Gorgug trying to save Zelda at the end there and was not fully able to save her. He got hit for some insane amount of damage and had that white streak in his hair.
Yeah. It was very cool to notice to realize what the battle would be like, while you're fighting, and then also like realize like, oh, Gorgug, I just got, it's always fun when you go into a battle and you've just taken an ability or something that will help you in that battle.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
that one I got Mindless Rage.
Mindless Rage,
I
yeah.
think that's what it is, where I just can't be frightened.
Yeah.
And that like ended up helping me a lot.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And it's always so like impossible to tell what will help you in the future. It's just really fully guessing.
Yeah.
And so that was just very satisfying to be able to like, narratively, it made sense for me to like get that far and try that hard.
I mean, what is that like for you as the DM when we email in and we're like, we want to take this ability, and the next one is like a haunted arcade?
At like 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes when I get these emails like, I'll take this spell or I'll take this feat, I will sometimes shoot up from my chair going, yes! Yes! Because all that it does, I never give you guys any clues about what the upcoming battles or challenges are going to be. And when you guys select an ability that's going to make you be able to solve one of these puzzles, I know how gratifying that storytelling moment is going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so satisfying to watch you guys effectively guess correctly.
Fun.
Which is dope as hell. Awesome. We're gonna go to some audience questions now. This is from Hustler Mulligan. Hey kiddo, how's it going? Allie and Zach, what was your favorite moment in Fantasy High or the Unsleeping City, and what made it so special? Thanks for the question, Hustler.
Man, that's a good question. The one thing from Fantasy High that I will say that is not one specific moment, but the same moment over and over again. It's just asking people if they were my dad, which was just an endless well of fun every single time, and just somehow it was so satisfying. It's one of the rare cases where I was happy every time I got a bad roll on an insight check, because I knew it was just I was in for like about 4 minutes of just straight up fun.
I think one of my favorite moments from Fantasy High that actually happened in last week's screened episodes. This happened in 111, I think, which was or maybe at the beginning of 112. It was the house party. It was Ostentation Wallace's house party, where Aylwin was the big villain. And it was the moment where you rolled the terrible insight, and I was like, I don't have any NPC here.
Yeah.
And I went like, however briefly, you entertained the possibility that you are that's exactly it. And the editors, our incredible editors, Noah and Aaron, do a slow push in on Zach's face. And every single cast member has a set of like performer superpowers, like things that they can do that are truly superhuman. And Zach's is fundamental. I do a lot of talking on the show, narrating and setting scenes and describing stuff. Zach never breaks character even when someone else is talking. And the amount of times that we can do a slow zoom in on Zach, who has elected to play in the first 2 seasons really dumb characters, just grappling with just slow pushing in on Zach, who I think you have a gift for playing dummies that is truly spectacular. And
Thank you so much.
and Gorgug there just fully going galaxy brain as he realizes he might be his own father. It's my favorite Zac performance. It's completely facial. It's totally in your face. But just you, like, with each thing, your eyebrows are just like ticking on like a Richter scale. It's incredible.
Yeah, that reminds me of like talking about like improv stuff. Just like I've taken classes with like people like Eugene Cordero, who's been, on The Good Place and other stuff, and Alex Fernie, another well-known UCB person who like really like champion like it is like doing the funny thing if you're just living in like a real reaction or living in a thing. And so often I personally find my words, you are incredible at that's your superpower, is how amazingly verbose you can be and how descriptive you can be. It's not my superpower. And so I very often by default, I end up going the other way with it.
It is such a joy to watch. I'll also chime in real quick with my favorite Are You My Dad, which I think is an underrated one of all the many Are You My Dad moments. The one that I was the most proud of, which was equally brief, which was just Arthur Eggfort's reaction. It's like it's your second to last one. I don't want to give too many spoilers because we haven't screened these on Twitch yet. But effectively, you say, are you my dad? And his response is, I was about to ask you the very same thing. And it sounds, it's the most on-game thing I did for Arthur, who the game of Arthur Eggfort is all of the things we understand as traditional wizard things are, if you examine them for even a moment, the most dangerously insane things you've ever thought about, right? Like,
it's really capturing that whimsy and the spectacular nature of whatever he talks about, but also doesn't make any sense. And if it does, is so scary.
The implications of if you're not insane are even worse, right? Absolutely. Allie, how about you? Favorite moments from...
Okay, I think the one in these two episodes that we're talking about where I get drunk, and I love playing with the cliche of coming out to everyone and them all saying, we know.
Yeah.
Which was very much in these episodes. It was just me being like, I have something to tell you, and everyone's just like, we know. So just getting blasted and deciding that's the time you want to come out of the closet just felt very real for Kristen. Was just like, and actually, I want to kiss. And then I think I kissed everyone in the cast.
Yes.
And most people were like, that was my first kiss. So I drunkenly kissed everyone.
Everybody.
Wow. I thought that was really
I think everybody's first kiss except Fig and Fabian.
I think so. That would make sense. And then I just found out something crazy about Unsleeping City. So I know we haven't streamed that yet, but this is just a little fact. In Unsleeping City.
No.
Yeah, it's really quick about how it ends. No, but in Unsleeping City, my character gets a tattoo, and I just found out that our sound person actually used real footage, the real sound effect of me getting a real tattoo from another Dropout show.
Yeah, Total Forgiveness.
And put it in there as my character gets a tattoo across his knuckles.
So crazy.
Isn't that so insane?
Noah couldn't find a good sound clip of a tattoo gun and was like, do we have any kind of tattoo thing, audio and any of the stuff we're doing?
And then he was like, wait, we filmed someone getting a tattoo. We filmed Ally getting a tattoo. And isn't that so sick?
Incredible.
Yeah.
What? Amazing.
Isn't that really cool?
That's amazing.
I love that. Shout out to Noah. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Question, but not really. Just want to thank Allie for playing Kristen, who literally inspired me to ask my crush out.
Hey!
We've been dating for over a month
Hey! That's great.
Hell yeah.
Hats off.
Hats off to Rat Cheez-Its. Rat Cheez-Its, fingers crossed, beautiful romance.
That's great.
How beautiful.
Let's say, you didn't ask, but I would say, start watching all the gay movies together. That was the best nights of, when you first start dating queer, it's like, do you want to watch a movie, which means make out for 5 hours and also watch a movie? And if you're watching a gay movie, baby, We got a whole queer night. So watch But I'm a Cheerleader. Watch that weird movie High Art. Watch one of those weird movies where, who is it? Misha Barton owns an eagle at a private school.
Owns
A
an
hawk?
eagle?
No, she has a hawk.
Misha Barton.
What's it called?
Eagle.
Lost and Delirious. Find that. It's a horrible movie.
Incredible.
Wild.
It's incredible.
Sam Bun Bun. Thanks, Sam Bun Bun. Does the fact that D20 is recorded and streamed change your play style / DM style? The answer to that question, Sam Bun Bun, which is a great question, is no, not really. I would say that if you watched me playing in a home game, it would be remarkably similar. The only way I can think that it gets changed is due to, it doesn't get changed internally at all. Like, I forget the cameras are on for the most part. I'm not changing any way that I behave or I act or I perform. I'm not higher energy on camera than I am in my home games. And
Truly, first time I played D&D was with you in your house, I think, and it was startling how much energy you had. Like, I think it was like, it was incredible just to be like, oh, we're in it. Or, excuse me. Or, shoot.
yeah, truly. No, for sure.
Wait, I have a question with home games since I've never experienced this. What is the big difference? I would imagine, are you drinking a beer in a home game? That feels like...
I've had people tell me that if they've played a lot of streamed D&D, that sometimes they actually get bummed out going back to home games if their home game is too relaxed. That like, some people play D&D and it's like, more than 50% bits and table chat, and people are knocking back some drinks.
Yeah, taking smoke breaks, leaving.
Taking a call, doing whatever, doing work on their computer. If that's how you get down and everyone loves that, congratulations, you're succeeding. You know, if you're having a good time, you're doing it right.
Yeah,
you're having a good time. But I do get the other side of it, which is people that are like, no, I get my rocks off the most if I'm really in it. So that's actually a nice thing about having it happen in a professional environment, is that we get deep in it. You know, we're not breaking unless it's a bathroom break. You know, for real.
Yeah, true.
And that provides for some really deep commitment. The only thing I would say that is a change in my DMing style is this loose idea of like role-playing episodes and combat episodes.
Yeah.
And a little bit, it's not the camera that influences me as much as the clock. It's the idea of, okay, these roughly have got to be a certain amount of time, or I'm really damning our editors. I'm making our post-production side have a hard time if this episode, and, you know, we do, I never cut an episode short. Sometimes things do go over that 2-hour mark because it is improvised. So I would say the only way that my style is being changed is I have an awareness of pacing and making sure that, you know, in a home game I might let tangents shoot off a little more because I would know that it's not the end of the world. But even in a home game, it's sometimes a good thing just for people's focus and attention to kind of clip those tangents anyway.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Is there anything that, obviously Allie wouldn't know?
They don't have an answer.
Yeah, I think my answer was probably very similar, where it's like, probably more random encounters, I would say, just by the nature of how kind of meandery like home games can be. Like, I feel like you can spend a lot more time being like, what are we doing? Like, you know, with like you're saying, the clock influences it a lot in Dimension 20. So it's like, we can't just not be doing anything. Or like, you know, like,
although sometimes
you can take like
we are like, what's up with that pigeon? And we roll on it for like.
We had a home game where I think for like truly an hour we set up how this ambush was gonna go.
And that's the thing. That's the kind of thing that Murph actually brought up. He was like, that was so fun, and it's the exact type of thing that couldn't happen in a stream game. Basically, I introduced a villain in this home game that was so scary that the PCs spent 3 hours of like an Airbnb weekend being like,
this thing is going to kill us. How are we going to get around this?
Yeah.
And it was just a very, very involved plan.
And then the next day you guys spent 5 hours making stuff out of wizard steel.
What?
It was it came away from that weekend like, did anything happen in our game? Except for that one huge thing, but like truly like, that was
That was
a
wild.
very isolated, smaller thing, considering how much we played.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
M. Riley 16. Hey, M. Riley, thanks for chatting. Were there any moves in Fantasy High that your castmates made that truly shocked you?
Oh, almost anything Fig did. I swear to God, it was the most like her like. Have we gotten to the doctor?
Yes.
In this, okay, yeah, that whole
Incredible.
thing of where she's just like, I kiss him, I
Yeah.
morph, and I become a nurse, and I live this life. That's kind of the tangent thing, though. Like,
That was
you
a-
indulge certain
Yeah.
tangents, and when you do, it kind of feels like we're like getting away with, like, it's just like, oh my God, like.
I think I mean I love the tangents. It makes me as the like. It takes me back to being like a kid and be like, oh, we're gonna get in trouble if we go over here.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I wish I went for them more. But like it is so fascinating to watch someone like Emily who is just fully on board with like, let's go make up a hospital.
Yo, let's go like act out essentially like an episode of ER, like a f***ed up episode of like
Grey's Anatomy or
betrayal,
whatever.
you know?
Yeah, truly, 100%.
That
Absolutely.
shocked me.
I love that. For me, the thing that most shocked me, a lot of things shocked me in the show. I would say fundamentally that the thing that shocked me probably the most is something that's coming up in episode 15, and therefore I can't talk about it. You'll have to watch
Ooh.
episode 15. I'll talk about it
One
next
word
week.
hint.
One word hint?
Mm-hmm.
Plunge. That's the one word hint. T-Boz 89. T-Boz 89. Ally, was Kristen, repeat the plug, your first pitches for PCs in each campaign, or were there other choices? Thanks, T-Boz 89. I appreciate it.
Ooh, that's a good question. Pete the Plug was the only pitch I think I had for Unsleeping City. I think that was
Yeah.
the only one.
I think so.
I had another pitch that I just remembered the other day.
What was it?
I know you were asking Allie, but I guess I'll answer. If that's okay.
I'm here
No,
too.
okay.
My eyes are up here.
When I was thinking of like kind of reverse engineering things from like what felt like New York stereotypes, I thought it would be fun to be a bike messenger that is essentially
yeah.
like a cavalier, like
Fighter.
fighter.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
sick.
it's like my bike is my mount, and I'm like like kind of like BMXing people.
Yeah. Full BMX bandit, if anyone
yeah.
knows the Michelin
Yes.
Web sketch. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Totally that.
I remember that. That was really fun. I liked
Yeah.
that.
That was fun.
But Ricky it was just Ricky. It just had to be Ricky.
Had to be
Yeah.
Ricky. Yeah, I think that Gorgug and I don't remember other pitches you guys had for Fantasy High. I think it was Kristen and Gorgug. I remember originally Kristen was conceived as a paladin.
Yes.
And we both talked about Kristen as a paladin, partially because of the idea of that being like an easier class for a first-time player than going primary spellcaster. But the more we talked about Kristen, the more it just seemed like, no, she's really a cleric. Like she's not a warrior. She's like really this like devoted evangelist really for
Totally.
Helios. So we ended up going for it, and I'm glad we did because especially this last in the arcade, Kristen slaps, man.
Yes, having all those like philosophers. for
Philosophers,
sure.
and if you're fighting undead, so you're
I
doing
put
radiant.
a corn stalk out, whatever that.
Guardian of Faith.
Guardian of Faith. Yeah. That was really fun.
Very dope. Manu says, thank you, Manu says. Do you have any advice or tips to encourage someone to DM? I've always wanted to, but I'm really shy and kind of anxious about it.
You and me both.
I was about to say, is Zach, were you typing like on this side? Brennan, I've only DM'd 1.5 times. And,
I don't know. Answer this question or whatever.
Do I have any advice or tips to encourage someone to DM? Okay, you want to DM. You've taken the time to type out this question, and you are going to be great. You're going to kill it. I know it. It's obviously very daunting. I think the trick here is don't put the pressure on yourself to. Don't ever put the pressure on yourself when you're doing something for the first time to know everything about doing it. Especially, it sounds like you'll probably be playing with newer players. They're going to be newer too. And if you're all new, you're all on equal footing. I don't think you should put pressure on yourself. And your players will have a great time. The important skills of being a DM, I know people like to talk about experience. I don't actually think experience is the most important part of the equation. I think that you can do it for the first time and get most of what's important. I would rather play with a DM who's playing for the first time if I knew that they cared about the experience of their players, were an empathetic, caring person, and were someone who you don't even need to, I don't think you need to be a great storyteller, TM, whatever the hell that means, because DMing is not really storytelling. I say that as someone who also professionally writes. I write stories. That's not the skill I'm using when I'm DMing. I'm not a storyteller. I'm an improviser, because the story is being told through the collective actions of you and your PCs. So the more important, if I had to pick someone out of a hat that was going to be a great DM, and I had the choice between a Hugo Award-winning writer or someone that I knew through friends was great at listening, I'd pick the person who was great at listening. I think they'd be a better DM. So you don't need to have done it before. You're going to do a great job. All you got to do is just be listening to your PCs to see what it is they're trying to do, and then once you know what they're trying to do, try to make that achievable but challenging for them to accomplish.
Can you say that again?
Manu Saiz, now I have to DM. I can't not do it. Shocked, frowny face. If I find out that you didn't DM...
Brennan, chill.
No. I'm not going to chill. If I find out you didn't DM, you and me are going to have words. I'm going to jump into that chat myself, all right? So I'm going to hear next week how it went, break legs, or I'm going to have to.
I can only hold him back for so long.
Morgan is a Leo. Zac and Ally. What?
I'm a Leo.
Leo.
Cancer.
I think we have 3 Leos on the cast.
We have a lot of Leos in the cast. Wait, what are you?
I'm Capricorn. Mm-hmm. Go goatfish. What a terrible animal. Goatfish. Stinks to high hell. Not a griffin, not an eagle and a lion. It's a goat and a fish. Everyone's sad. Zac and Ally, what fantasy, high RP, or combat moment did you wish you would have done differently or have better ideas for after shooting? Thanks, Morgan.
Funny enough, you asked the two of us who literally die
immediately.
Oh, that's right. You two died in the very first combat.
I mean,
I wouldn't change a thing.
Obviously, I just forgot that I had this relentless endurance.
Yes.
Or whatever keeps me up as a half orc. Like a killing blow or whatever, or something that takes you below 0 will take you to 1. And so
we also got wrong that you had a rage. I didn't know that. This was my first time playing 5e. It was Fantasy High.
Oh, really?
Barbarians had 2 rages because you used a rage earlier in the day, so you should have been raging that whole battle, which means you never would have even gotten that low in the first place.
And I even asked you.
You asked me, and I was like, "You're out of rages."
I asked him.
Funny, but here's the thing: if only one of you had died, I probably wouldn't have resurrected them. So that's something interesting to consider. Is that it was only because 2 of you went down that I was like, something's got to be done about this. I probably would have let 1 slide. So
there would have been no Kristen.
No Kristen, right? Although you got the role that took you out was you slipping on wet corn and diving headfirst into the floor.
Yeah.
But
that killed you?
Yes, that was what brought Kristen to 0. Yeah. So there was a lot of people often say. Some people said that that first encounter was overpowered for first level characters. It was not overpowered. I just didn't know how to run 5e. Well,
I mean, we all obviously were just like chasing shiny things, and we did like athletics rolls.
Jumped on a lot of tables.
Jumped on a lot of tables.
Unlucky.
And you also spent 2 or 3 rounds with Murph being like, "We gotta kill the big guy," and everyone going, "Right," and no one attacking the big guy.
I think I was also this was I guess my first time playing 5e, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
And like didn't really think about like disengaging and stuff, and I was like, well, these are all going to hit me if I go by, so I can't just run through them.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other done differently things. There's a moment in the very beginning of Fantasy High episode 17, no spoilers, but there's a thing that if you've watched the live shows, that Kristen gets a chance to do a very big, impressive thing and ends up immediately regretting what she creates in that moment. No spoilers, but that's like an in-character regret, which is so deeply funny.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Chief Lanevis. Thank you, Chief Lanevis. What's everyone's favorite box of doom? Where does the double Nat 20 race game roll in the list? So, of course, this is episode 114, where Fabian is about to get downloaded into Biz Glitterdoo's horrifying machine. And we see that the video game rolls a Nat 20, which means that Fabian literally cannot succeed unless he rolls a Nat 20. Lou's rolling with advantage, gets 2 rolls, rolls a 10 on the first die, and then a 20 on the next one. And the table erupts.
That was epic. The stakes were so high.
I don't remember doing it, but I remember Lou telling me that I was like, just roll it, just see.
Just see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were reminding him that he had
we
advantage.
almost put the box away. We almost were like, you have advantage, right? We almost put it away.
That was insane. Yeah.
Watching someone hit that Nat 20 when literally not even a 19 will do is one of the most powerful, exhilarating feelings in the world, and I need it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other ones.
Any other big box of doom?
I mean, they're coming up later in the season for me, so I don't want to spoil anything. But
although that Nat 20 that you roll is not in the box of doom. We know the Nat 20, if you've watched the full season.
Oh, you're right. It's not in the box of doom.
Because why would it be? Because why would it be?
I wrote the most nonchalant Nat 20 you'll ever see in your life.
It's incredible. Allie's story rolls are bonkers. I'll also say, by the way, a little shout out, something that I should have plugged in the plug sesh up top. But right now, episodes 1 through 14 of Fantasy High, obviously everything we do is available on Dropout. That's where the ultimate D20 experience is. But if you're like a big Twitch person and you want to look at stuff on Twitch, we have VOD of all of Fantasy High through episode 14, so episodes 1 through 14. And as we do our little marathon and stream going up to September 25th, we're going to add more and more. So by the time September 25th rolls around, you'll actually be able to watch all of Fantasy High, even the behind the paywall stuff, if you subscribe to our Twitch channel as well. So cool to check out.
Nice.
NMC for life. Thanks, NMC for life. If you had to pick another class for your Fantasy High or Unsleeping City characters, what would you choose? Thanks, NMC for life. An interesting question. Pick another class. We know the Paladin thing for Kristen.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of for Fantasy High. I already mentioned the Cavalier kind of fighter for Unsleeping City.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think because it's another class for your character. So it's like
character.
So like if Ricky or Pete or Kristen or Gorga had to be a different class, what other different class would they be?
I just think, I mean, I know we're not talking a ton about Unsleeping City because maybe people haven't seen it, but I think being a wild magic sorcerer for Pete, who is a drug dealer, it's like we couldn't have done anything else. It's like, I'm going to wild magic surge, possibly put the party in danger.
Yeah.
Much like how truly addiction affects a friend group. It's like you're totally wild magic surging. You never know like if you can trust that person or not.
Yeah.
And it really puts a wedge between you and all your friends, which we saw kind of play out in Unsleeping City at different times. Yeah.
No, I mean absolutely. We had Lou here last week and we had a whole conversation. Someone asked a question about Pete and Kingston and their relationship.
Yeah.
Which is really intense. And we saw the one that just aired, we just had episode 9 air on Dropout, so we're not trying to have too many Unsleeping City spoilers.
Totally, yeah.
But the fact, I think that what Pete and Kingston represent, Kingston as this lawful good city domain cleric who is literally, if you were playing 3.5, he would have been like a community domain cleric, versus this chaotic good.
Chaotic neutral.
Maybe,
but mostly good.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. I would say at the top of the season, Pete is chaotic neutral. I think a lot of the first thing Pete does, try not to give spoilers, but when the character that is almost like Pete, one of the sources of Pete's power, is suddenly injured and in danger. And I watch Ally, this was a gut reaction where you went, I leap for them, grab them with my body. And we see, like, especially at a moment where everyone in the campaign setting doubts Pete, he's given a chance to prove himself and does.
And he
I
does.
think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Which is that moment is so touching and beautiful, and then everything after that is about this reconciliation, and a lot of the season's about duality and binaries and that whole idea. And the scene that we have in the museum, again, trying not to have any spoilers, but the scene in the museum where Pete comes away with this knowledge of like, me and this other person couldn't be more different. I am a force of chaos. I am wild magic. I am this insomniac, drug dealer, altered consciousness guy, but there is something in that is necessary, and there is a job that I have to provide that perspective.
Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
WizKid772, Brennan, would you ever be willing to have a guest DM so you could be a PC? Yes, I would.
I would die for that.
I would love that.
Get Mercer on the line.
Merce, what's up, dude? No,
Putting
honestly,
a team together.
together. Well, Murph was so kind to. I know Zach, your arc as Mavericks is like just in the process of wrapping up on NADPod, and is so much fun. Murph was so kind, and then he and Emily and Jake and Caldwell over on NADPod invited me over to come play Deadeye, which I can't tell you how much fun that was.
So fun. I listened to the whole thing. Yeah, of course. It was so great.
Yeah.
And it's also so funny to see you as a PC because it's like playing, I don't know, law with a lawyer or something.
Yeah.
Where
You're
it's
just
like,
so well
you
learned.
know everything.
Yeah.
The things Deadeye would do were just like game breaking. Like, oh shoot, like this guy is destroying people. But like, and then even we played a home game where Lou DM'd, and me and Brennan and a couple other buds were playing in it.
Fun.
It was very fun, and Brennan was an Aarakocra.
Yes.
And like truly in a way that I could just fully, obviously Lou had no plan for this, but we went to this like library that had some important stuff, and like we were in a place that was like maybe a little unsafe, and Brennan just picked up important books and just flew away, like back to a town that's like hours away, like by himself flew away. And I was just like looking at Lou like, are you okay? Like, is this, how are you dealing with this?
I felt so bad. But there was this thing of like, I mean, everyone has their way of like introducing chaos into games. And I think when I become a problem player for DMs, which again, I don't have a huge sample size because I hardly ever get to play, but I think when I become trouble, like everyone has the moments where they become trouble. My moments where I become trouble have to do with being presented with a stretch of open field. In other words, like within the DM's challenges they've set up, like a hole in the defense opens up, and I see this thing of like, okay, we're in this bad mansion full of scary criminals. I'm in a room as a Aarakocra wizard with all these extremely important ancient spell books. I know that in the hallway are all the bad people, and there's an open window. I get a big piece of the drape. I think it was drape. I literally tore some curtains down, made an enormous hobo bindle, and like I only had a strength of 8, so it was me like trying to like flap furiously, huge, swelling, hundreds of pounds of books, just like flying off into the night sky. I think was stealing all these books.
Like wow.
And
amazing.
And Lou kind of went like, so you fly back? And I was like, yep. And he's like, I think he literally checked in with me. He was like, hey, if you do that, you're not going to be in any of the other scenes that happen. And I think I thought about it and was like, that's very true. I'm good. Like, like I will take that. If I get it,
fine.
That's fine. I got the books.
As a DM, if one of us were to do something that was so chaotic and outside of the rails of what we were doing, at what point are you just allowed to make up stuff? You know, like consequences. Like, do you think that like maybe that's a more complicated question, but like if someone circumvents like any sort of challenges that you had set up at all, do you ever make alternative challenges? Like there's a ballista there, you know, like, or does that feel like you are just like
that's a great
trying
question.
to lie?
Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
I try my best not to because I think that the it's kind of the thing of like I've used this metaphor before, but it's like in like Vegas where they say like the house always wins, right? Over X amount of challenges, the DM is going to have so many opportunities to stump people. Like, I've just got so many more cards. You guys have a character sheet with a fixed number of powers and a set number of hit points. I've got the entire world and anything I can make up. It's not a fair challenge, right? The deck is stacked against you guys. So as a result of that, the mentality I take is kind of the mentality that I think a casino takes if someone hits a jackpot. Like, of course, if the casino could stop people from hitting a jackpot, they would. Yeah. But the issue is, in the long run, if you try to intercede and go like, wait, before you hit the jackpot, if you intercede, people begin to know that it's rigged. And they go like, oh, I'm just not going to play here. Yeah. So what you have to do, the mindset you have to be in, I think, is if you get stumped, if one of you guys, and this has happened, you guys have done stuff, and everyone has their own creative ways of doing it. It's not just like Fig being like, let's go to the hospital, and I'm like, okay, gotta make up my whole thing. It's also like Riz shooting Daybreak in the head. Even Murph with his lawful shenanigans can sometimes like see a way around a problem that stumps one of my challenges as well. All of you have different ways that you have presented in games of like, we're gonna solve this in a creative way that you didn't anticipate. I feel like I owe it to you to let you womp me because I can always just put the next rung on the ladder. Like, why would I go make this rung be different than I anticipated?
Win the battle, lose the war, kind of.
Exactly.
Like, overall, we want a game with momentum moving towards a narrative or whatever.
100%, exactly. So I think when you guys want me, I just have to eat it. And I go like, great, you did it. Even if you did it creatively or in a way that was really surprising to me, it's like I'll lick my wounds and come back again tomorrow.
I mean, I would love to see some sort of thing that we do with Fantasy High seasons, maybe in the future, where there's little interviews with you, where it's like, so what went wrong? You know, and you just get to be like, where did that come from? Like, I had this, like, what did you have planned? I would watch after each episode.
Yes,
honestly.
Absolutely.
Like a 15-minute little, like, you hang your hat up and you're like, well.
Most of the time, it honestly rarely comes up because for the most part, when you understand that you want to have that improvisational style, you anticipate for moments of that happening. So so you know what I mean? It's almost that thing of like, there's like a bunch of martial arts that are things that are more like Aikido or things that like redirect energy that are less like, I'm never going to present this concrete opposition to you. I'm going to try to stay loose so that if you do throw me, I get to roll with it. Kit Kat Gal 37. Hey, Kit Kat Girl 37. Hey, all. What's another high school archetype you would have liked to see or would like to see in Fantasy High? Thanks, Kit Kat Girl 37. I appreciate it. This feels like the correct time for a huge confession on my part as the DM of Fantasy High, which is that I never went to high school. So in terms of high school archetypes, everything that I threw in there was something I either heard about or saw a movie. So that's what I was coming to.
You're like, then your mom comes in, and we're like, Brennan, that's not high school.
That's not. You sure? Isn't high school you and your homeschooled brother attending classes at SUNY Ulster? That's not high school.
It'd be a lot stranger of a campaign if it was that.
It'd be really
very, very
Two
weird.
brothers.
Fantasy homeschool.
Everyone else is just sitting here. I think that, well, it's incredible to me that you didn't go to high school because you represent a lot of it very well. The first thought that makes me think of is like, I think that I think the Blood Rush sport is very fun. I'd be interested to see what other athletes in other sports were like, just because they're like people who play football are a little bit different than people who play soccer. You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily need that much space in the show, but that's maybe something that could be explored. I'm trying to think of anything.
I feel like skaters probably. That was such a huge thing.
Have a PC skater.
I think maybe I would make a PC that was like a little skate rat or something. I grew up in like such a rural area, so I am playing myself with Kristen, very religious, but it was just like so small town. And what we played was like quaint small town. It was like, oh my gosh, there's like a cafe and British Arts. No, like I grew up, it was like, there's a cow. Like I went to high school, and then my church also met in the same high school. So I went to high school all week, and then went to youth group at the same high school at night during the week, and then on Sunday parked in my same parking spot in high school to go to church. It was just like
So
everything
I'm the
was
only
in
one
the
who
same
went
spot.
to a normal
Yes,
school,
yeah.
I think.
The first bully who bullied me did so by throwing a chicken at me at a sleepover.
A live chicken?
A live chicken. Rotten hell! That chicken didn't deserve that, neither did I. If you're listening, I hope you fucking work at Walgreens. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. This is a PG-13 room. But I was triggered.
We would like to thank everyone at Twitch,
Yes.
and thank you. Thank you.
Everyone who works at Walgreens is dope. That's not. I didn't mean to slight you like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just think, really in particular, she hated Walgreens. That's something you need to know about the story.
Yeah.
I have plenty more stories about her.
I would. Part of the reason that I went into homeschooling was bullying as.
Oh yeah,
bullying as
bullied nonstop.
Nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
But
We made it. We made it out
made
alive.
it.
Look at the elbow. It's perfect every time. Look at
you
the
can tell I was homeschooled because I don't know how to high five. I think that there's a lot of high school archetypes that could come back into there as well. I think it's also a very funny thing because high school archetypes change, and a lot of the references in what we think of as like high school stuff are cultural artifacts.
True.
Like this idea of teens being like super bad, like let's go party, is part of it. But I work at a summer camp still, and all the teens I know are depressed queer socialists, which I don't see reflected pretty much anywhere in high school media.
Yeah, totally.
So let's get the movie about the last day of senior year with a bunch of depressed queer socialists getting together for some direct action, like
For
aiding
some
in a labor strike,
canvassing.
some canvassing, something like that. That'd be awesome.
Wow.
Katie Along. Hey, Katie Along. Thanks. Allie and Zach. Who's your favorite Fantasy High NPC? Thanks, Katie Along.
Gleer. No question, Gleer.
I think it's Gleer, yeah. I wish I could expand, but it's just
To have someone with such a high status voice with like the most low status life, just like, oh no, I spilled yogurt
it was just
again.
like you created a Simpsons character.
Yeah,
that's
you
what it
really
was.
did.
Where it was just like endlessly like I love just to ask like little questions to Galeer, like where'd you get the crackers for the turkey crackers?
Oh, these.
They were discarded in a dumpster outside of the Bastion Market.
Always.
You just really like you just lose something in your eyes.
Yeah, you really do. You lose hope in your eyes, though.
Just something kind of like vacates your eyes when you play Galeer, which is just so funny to watch. Just like there it went. There it went.
Galeer is so fun.
Oh my god, I love it. It's playing Galeer is very, very fun. I was shocked because to me, Galeer was like, I love Galeer, but in my head, I'm like, who are the funniest NPCs? I go with like the really high energy, like Bill Seacaster, Arthur Eggfort type characters.
Those are fun.
But nothing made you guys happier than Galeer, which reminds me of there's a quote. It's from like Bossy Pants, and it was like Tina Fey talking about comedy writers, and she's like, she's like, comedy writers absorb so much comedy that their actual natural sense of humor warps. It like genetically mutates. She says, if you want to make an audience member laugh, take your biggest, most muscular cast member, dress them up like a little old lady, and throw them down the stairs. If you want to make a comedy writer laugh, throw a little old lady down a flight of stairs.
Yes. I remember that now.
But there's something to that, and I think the idea of like having these big goofy characters that are like, wow, and then like what makes the six comedians laugh? The saddest man in the world.
Yeah.
The man who's just living off expired yogurt.
Yeah. I mean, that was another another moment of Fig being crazy when she was just like, can Galeer come and work at the school? Or I don't know if that's
or even the live show we did in Austin when she was like, can Galeer come disguised as Fabian? and you're like, this is, or the whole thing like the lunch lad.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the scene with
he puts a tip jar up. I think Fig made him a tip jar.
Fig made him a tip jar, and I immediately remember that was one thing that I felt, because I never went to high school, that I felt truly so happy about, because I was, Fig's like, I put a tip jar up there, and I was like, this cafeteria full of teens immediately fills the tip jar with the most horrifyingly hurtful written abuse you can possibly imagine. And Ally, you literally went in the moment, that is the most teen thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like the idea of this sad elven divorcee and having a tip jar for children, for students, being like, here's a tip.
So good.
So sad.
Another one from Rat Cheez-Its. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, Rat Cheez-Its. Appreciate it. Which set of fantasy high parents would y'all say are closest to your own? Thistle Springs, no question.
Yeah.
For me.
Thistle Springs, just sweeties. Sweeties that want to talk to you about graphic sex.
Extreme love. I'm trying to think. Yeah, not Bill and Hilarial, not Galir and Sandra Lynn or Gorthalax. Certainly not the Applebees, certainly not the Abernants, not the Guckgacks. Yeah, it really is the Thistle Springs. Of like, kind of like crafty, artsy hippies that are very, extremely, overwhelmingly loving and progressive to the point of like, but just beyond progressive.
My answer is weird.
Yeah.
Okay, my parents, and not to the extremes that they are on the show, are probably like Scalanda and Bill Seacaster.
Oh, funny.
Or like, but they both are working parents. Like my mom was is a nurse, and just like kind of coming home to that like working mom energy that is just like, what are you doing? Like, just chill out. I'm trying to take a nap, but also there and like attentive and caring. And then my dad is not Bill Seacaster, but he has like a kind of chaotic, larger than life energy of a man who is a karate master, which is what he is. And like, literally is his job, came from Japan to teach karate, and like has
a dojo, right?
Yeah, and so like that, there are shades of that are like, yeah, you're kind of not, you're an insane character.
Yeah.
Versus like your average parent.
Truly. How about?
My mom is a little bit like my parent. Like, you had one line where you were like, oh no, were they illegals? Where we were all just like, Gah! Like, my mom will do stuff like that where she says a term where you're like, that is so deeply problematic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But she, if I talked to her about it, she would be like, oh gosh, yeah, like she would be more understanding, I think. She's not as rigid. Especially, I mean, both my brother and I came out of the closet to my mom, and she's fine with it. So she's rigid, but ultimately like loves us enough to listen and like kind of adapt, and us both kind of like work together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. No, I feel like even with the Applebees in Fantasy High, there is that thing of like in the first episode you can see that they love Kristen. It's just this thing of like, their politics mark weird, unintuitive ends to what their natural good instincts would be. I think everyone's had that thing of someone where you're like, well, your politics just, like, I know you wouldn't treat this type of person the way you're treating this other type of person, and this other intersection of your politics has come in here to make you do something that is clearly not right.
Totally.
I would also say, by the way, I forgot that 113 is also the episode where we have the scene about docking.
Yes, I was just
with the Thistle Springs.
That.
I totally forgot.
Where the Thistle Springs explained docking.
Truly an accident, right? Like,
you said talking, and I responded because I heard you say docking. I went, docking?
And then that's like where the improviser locks in. We're like, what do you mean?
What's docking?
What's docking?
Ally, you were destroyed in that moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was there a part of you that maybe didn't think that I knew what docking was?
Yeah, there was a part of me. There was a part of me that thought, let's see how this plays out.
I do know what docking is. Chief Lanevis, again. Thank you, Chief Lanevis, for hanging out. Appreciate it. Actually has had a few fan episodes, so my question is, would you ever be willing to have a fan side quest? That's an extremely exciting question.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to play with fans of the show. That would be amazing.
We had a fan in Chicago play with us.
We did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lou and I played
Cece.
Quest. Yes, with Cece.
They were playing Flip.
Yep.
Which was such a hoot.
That was
Marching
so
band.
sick. Yes.
So sick.
Oh,
A
great.
trumpet player. Yeah.
trumpet
Oh, that's a
and-
great. Talking about like territory to cover. That's an
A
band,
marching band
actually.
guard. It was so
Yeah.
great.
And then we had. Oh yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Which was really, really fun. But I would love to play a game with fans. Whether that would be a side. The problem with playing with fans is everyone would have to come to Los Angeles, where we have the Dome, and then depending on what our shoot schedule would be, would have to spend maybe a long time here. What feels like it could be awesome would be to organize something like at a convention where maybe more
Yeah.
people were going to be.
Totally.
Yeah,
because I really liked when Trap did the fan episode of Actually.
Yeah.
I loved that he really, because I feel like the tendency sometimes when you're casting a show like that would everyone needs to be in LA is to be like, all right, let's find people who are already near LA and do a fan episode. But Trap was like, that sucks for people who are in other state, like.
Yeah.
And I just love like the push of Dropout to be like, no, like we said, this is open to all fans. Let's actually like find people from all over the place. So
Yes, truly.
yeah, we would have to find people who are available for all those shoot days of a side quest.
Yes.
And
yes.
could, anyway, yeah.
But I would love to play with you guys. That would be a hoot. That would be so fun. Little King 2021. I like that name, Little King 2021.
Coming 2021. Little King.
Hello, I'm the Little King. Hi guys, thanks for streaming on my birthday.
Hey, happy birthday!
Little King, happy birthday.
You're now the big king.
His Majesty's birthday. Thanks for streaming on my birthday. I was curious, how much do the PCs and their characters add to the lore and world building in any of the seasons? It's a great question. I would say a lot. The PCs add to the lore of the world a lot, often in ways that sometimes the players are not even aware of, because I end up usually pitching the world to these guys before I've solidified everything, and then take their characters that they've crafted and anticipate what their characters will want to know about. So for example, in Unsleeping City, all of this relationship about like Nod and the waking world, I knew loosely that was going to be a part of New York's world building.
Yep.
It wasn't going to be as central to the plot of the season until I knew that I was going to have a Vox Phantasma and a Vox Populi.
Wow.
So,
cool.
so does that mean? So in other words, some of the world building is done by these guys consciously with choices they make in character, and a lot of it is done with me going like, got it, taking what they made for their characters and then painting a kind of playground for their character to have fun in.
This game's so fun.
That makes sense to me. I mean, it does feel like a thing where when we're playing, I feel very on not on eggshells, because that like it's way more fun than being on eggshells. But like I don't like I try not to like just make stuff up about like the past, or like what's gonna be in there. I already know it's this, and then like.
And there's been very different moments, but talking about the way people introduce chaos into the game, Ally does not share your compunction about making up world history and world background, because the entire thing of Kristen belonging to the Harvest Men was completely created by you, and the Harvest Festival and them teaching this stuff, all of that was made up at the table.
That's all autobiographical.
All autobiographical. And all of that is me as the DM was just watching my world escape from me in that moment. It was great. But here's the thing is, I have such a sense of honor around wanting to the sense of like integrity around wanting to honor whatever happens that the PC says. And I listened to all of it and just went, yep, all that can fly. I was like, none of that. I was like listening to it in the moment and being like, does any of that change up any of my stuff? No, it does not. It all stands. If you guys ever did, I would push myself to the absolute limit to try to honor stuff you guys created about it would have to be something that literally like erased an entire battle from being able to happen for you guys to make it up and me to go, actually, that's not true.
Yeah.
But I think that I love when PCs make up stuff. And certainly I did that as Deadeye when I was playing on NADPod, because I talked with Murph about wanting Deadeye to be that like old soul, been around the block a few times. So just being like, man, I used to party with these people back in the day. And I wanted a little bit, it's like some character concepts need a little bit of freedom to get extemporaneous about the setting.
Yep.
Like it's a bummer if you're playing a cleric and you can't ever speak with authority about religious matters.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So like I think that it's important for as a DM to let your players do some world building in the stuff that they know about, right?
Yeah.
Or even I think with like Unsleeping City, I told Lou like Kingston can know everybody. Like if I mention an NPC, you don't have to check with me. You can be like, I know them, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Which was sort of fun. Ice Pup, 1992. Thanks, Ice Pup. On the off chance there was a crossover with Fantasy High and the Unsleeping City characters, how would Kristen react to an Applebee's dining establishment?
She wouldn't know what it is.
There's a lot of people named McDonald in the world. I think probably Kristen would just be like, whoa, checks out, right?
Absolutely. If you ask our legal team, they'll tell you, just like I will, that it's not because her being named after the chain restaurant is funny. You know,
Yeah.
I just came up with, I was like, what's a funny last name that is not trademarked? And I said Applebee's. And then they said, did you know that's a restaurant? And I said, what are you telling me, bucko? What are you saying?
And then I said, I think you'll find that the restaurant has an apostrophe in the name Applebee's. And I think if you look at Kristen Applebee's last name,
no apostrophe. I think she would go there. I think she would get a Chinese chicken salad and a beer on happy hour, and she'd watch the game.
Kristen.
You're bad.
B Green. Within season 1, is there any specific event caused by a good or bad role that you would have wanted to go a different way? Within season 1, is there any specific event caused by a good or bad role that you would have wanted to go a different way? B Green, thank you for the question.
I mean, first episode when I was dying,
not
probably that.
not having
Probably
died.
those
Yeah,
roles.
I mean, it's hard to think of another one.
Yeah.
But pretty much that. I would have liked to have seen what would have. Oh, this is spoilerish. I'll wait on. I won't say it. But yeah, pretty much that. Yeah.
Yes. Is there another? I'm trying to think if there's any role that I would have wanted to go another way. Well, I always want to like share more information about the world. So the most frustrating thing as a DM is when I'm like, give me perception, and everyone's like, nat ones, and I go, okay, you don't see anything.
Yeah.
Which is always tricky for me because I would love for you guys to see more stuff. I'm trying to think if there's any other bad roles that I would have wanted to be different. I think for the most part, yeah, it would have been cool if you guys didn't die in that first battle, but it ended up creating a moment that for a lot of people is what hooked them onto the first season of Dimensions.
That was so insane.
T-Boz89, Brennan, would you ever do a fantasy take on a murder mystery a la Agatha Christie? Wow. I would love to do any kind of Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmesy. I would love to do some fun, weird take on like gaslight horror or mystery fantasy. What's interesting is that mystery, like a mystery is kind of the technical genre of Fantasy High. Fantasy High is like a teen mystery in a lot of ways. Like the big compelling thing of like the missing girls and the secret of like KVX and yada yada. That's all.
There's a good amount, I feel like, in Unsleeping City as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think too, what a lot of that comes down to is.
Maybe not mystery, but you know what I mean.
No, but there is. I think it's one of those things in the Unsleeping City where I like bad guys that are trying to accomplish their goals, and for the heroes to be heroes, they have to choose to stand in the way of the bad guys, right? They have to choose to intercede and meddle in the affairs of these wicked people. As a result of that, there's often an element of mystery because it's like, unless you structure your entire campaign around your PCs being kind of like chosen ones, and the villains are coming for them expressly, then probably the bad guys are just trying to get paid or do whatever else they want to do, and why would they care about what the heroes are up to? The heroes aren't even heroes until they find out what's going wrong and try to stop it. And there's something to me that's very realistic and very matchable to our world of like I don't know, without getting too preachy about it, in our world, we know what the bad guys are up to and how they're trying to do it. And it's just sort of up to all of us, everybody watching and everybody else, to be like, cool, how do you want to get in their way and stop them if you care to do that? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of up to you to put some hustle out there and get active and stop the wicked people in the world. That's how I feel. Cassie Lane, 2197. Thanks, Cassie. Brennan, how do you feel about us calling you Brendad Lee Mulligan?
Brendad Lee Mulligan.
How do I feel about it?
I'm going to change you in my phone right now. Brendad Lee Mulligan.
Brendad Lee Mulligan. Bud, I want all you guys to have a good time, and as long as you're being responsible, and you're looking out for each other, and you're taking care of each other, then any goofs and spoofs are A-okay by me. Just make sure you get home before it's too late. You got a big day tomorrow, all right, kids?
Brendad
Lee Mulligan.
Brendad Lee Mulligan.
Yeah.
Please, it's actually Brendad Lee Mulligan. Cool. We'll make this our last one here. The Dragon Llama.
Ooh.
Is there a possibility of a Dimension 20/NADPOD crossover, maybe in a live show? Dragon Llama.
No.
How would that work? Dragon Llama, I think that would be rad. I think that would be totally awesome. Murph is the best. The only question is, would Murph be able to play a Dimension 20 PC while I was playing? Well, how would that logistically
Who's the
work?
DM and who's the PC?
I've got the perfect thing for this. D&D tour. NADPOD and D20. We tour around the U.S.
How about
double
the world?
shows back to back?
a 2-story bus.
A 2-story. We do not interact with them.
We don't pick up Big Bird.
Guys, that's been all for this extra credit. Thanks so much to my guests, Ally Beardsley and Zac Oyama. Double 12s. 2 nat 12s.
Nat 20.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Dice. Guys, that's all for this chapter of Dimension 20. But wait, more full episodes call out to you from the realms beyond Dropout.tv. Will you come to their aid and sign up for your free trial today?